Well, if you're not counting the team stage, this will be our third stage for the day.
Yeah. This is stage number 7 out of the 8 standard main stages.
Now we're out of order again.
Yeah.
That's okay. So why don't you describe this one?
All right, so this one consists of 3 parts. First is a retreating rifle paper section. So there's a bunch of hallways. There's rifle paper. You start at the front and shoot all the paper as you go backwards.
Moving backwards, which is a challenge.
This is largely a safety dance kind of thing.
It is.
You will then, at the end of that, clear your rifle, and then you will either sling it or carry it muzzle up across a little pit. There's a little 2x6 that you have to
navigate without falling in.
Not that big a deal, but it is a thing.
Yep.
You run across to another bay in the area, climb up onto a sniper tower, and engage 4
flasher
targets.
Yep. These are those 8-inch or 10-inch plates again.
Yeah, between, what was it, 180 and 275. Clear those, and then you dump your rifle up there, get down out of the tower any way you want. You can fling yourself off the side, you can climb down the ladder.
You could go face first, swan dive.
Whatever you want.
Yep.
And then you go into another maze of hallways, which is all pistol paper. And clear those, and it's like 15 pistol targets in there.
Yep, and that's it. So let's see how we do.
Move! The chopper!
Enjoy my muzzle.
I am enjoying it. Out of one. Hit! Out at 4. 80 seconds. Hit! Good job, Carl. Run! Your last shot was at 25.
I need that. All right, so we just completed the stage.
Yep.
How'd it go?
Not too badly. That one was kind of interesting in that there wasn't anything really super hard about that one. For the first time, it wasn't a real challenge to get it done in time.
No.
The rifle targets were the easiest of the long-range rifle, and we both cleared them without too much difficulty. You easily, me without that much
You're fine.
trouble. And then the rifle and pistol was just, here's some hallways, and here's basically a magazine and a little bit worth of stuff. I'm fairly happy with it. I ended up with a procedural penalty because as I was jumping the pit and running, my rifle was more horizontal than vertical.
And they did explicitly state that at the beginning of the stage, and that was,
Yeah.
so at some ranges that would have been a TQ.
That's very true. Yeah,
So
and
they're
I'm
pretty-
really glad that we have the mindset here. It was a rifle I had just cleared in front of the entire stage.
So that's why it's procedural, and that's how these guys run their games.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. You didn't sweep anybody.
Nope.
But it was technically a violation of the policy.
Yeah.
So minor though.
Yeah.
I guess the hardest parts of this stage is the moving backwards retreat.
Yeah.
That's a little odd.
That's just a skill or a mindset habit thing that you have to get from doing some matches.
Yep.
That's something you would never really do in real life.
Well, I don't know that's true.
Well-
There may be a need to ass out of something.
Yes, but the trick to that is not so much the moving backwards, it's the moving backwards while keeping your rifle pointed down range.
That's the artificial element. The moving
Yes.
back out of a structure to get out.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
The fact that you have to keep the muzzle a specific direction for range safety is where the artificial element comes in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have value anyway.
Sure.
So a lot of close range, blammy paper.
Yep.
The long range stuff wasn't as bad as some of the stuff we've had. The wind wasn't as horrific.
And what wind there was, and I don't know, you may have been able to hear it on the camera, but it was more coming from straight behind us than crossing.
Now that said, it was a little bit variable. The winds today are not consistent. They come in like 10 to 15 minute gusts.
Yeah.
So some shooters may have had a worse experience than others, and that's just the nature of the beast. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Can't control that.
Yeah.
So, but it was a fun stage. I don't think anyone timed out,
No, for once, our times were about half of par.
and I think a few people gave up on some of the long range targets.
A few people, yeah. That was definitely the hardest part of the
Quite
stage.
honestly, not much more to say about this one.
I'm starting to get consistent malfunctions every stage with my Glock,
Yes.
and I'm pretty sure it's a combination of very fine powdery dust out here accumulating in the mags over 2 days, plus steel case Tula ammo. So I'm clearing them. I'm kind of happy with how I'm clearing them because it's not really throwing me much. It's just, did it again. But I'm not buying more Tula.
Using brass cased ammo in my Beretta, I've had 0 malfunctions.
Yeah.
So I've had 0 malfunctions in the AR with steel cased ammo.
Right.
So your pistol just seems to be sensitive to it.
And you know what? We have both been making fairly extensive use of the Magpul D60s.
I got a thumbs up on these things. I have had
no problems.
I've had no issues with them in the field here. Yours is clean. Mine's a dusty disaster. I don't know how that happened. Mine's kind of got even grit in it, and it's working fine.
Yeah.
Those PMAG D60s really are good to go, or at least seem to be.
Yeah.
I did induce one malfunction with one off range when I
Yeah.
was hand unloading one, and I just did something wrong. So word to the wise, either keep it loaded or keep it unloaded, but don't start mucking with unloading it because that's when you can have a problem. They are clearable when that happens, but it requires like a lot of tools, and you're not going to do it in the field. The reality is though, on the clock, on the range, in this moon dust, I've had 0 issues.
No, they work great.
I'm real happy with them, and I would have to say, even though we talked to Mr. Sullivan and did enjoy his Surefire 60 mags and had really no issues with them either, well, I had issues with early versions of them.
Right.
The one he gave us worked okay. However, if I were to make a decision to have a high-capacity feeding device for my AR, I would opt for the
So would I.
PMAG D60 over the Surefire.
Kind of for the same reasons and in the same way that I'd take a plastic PMAG over a GI 30 rounder.
It's also not as long.
Yep.
You get a very similar to 30-round mag length with the DMAG.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing as well.
And you can't accidentally bend the feed lips a little bit and mess it up. And you know what? Quad stack mags, no one's really quite made quad stack mags work really well. A couple people have tried them militarily. You know, the Swedes tried them. The Russians tried them. They tried 60 and they're like, and then they went to 50 and they still don't use them all that much. I'm sure the North Korean ones are fantastic.
The North Korean ones are probably the best. Since they're unobtainium, they're obviously the best equipment there ever was.
Clearly, yeah, that's how it works.
One thing I will say to that is that one thing I think that the DMAG in particular in its design system is this really is a very dirty environment here. This is dirtier than the Tucson match. And there is a lot of grit and dust in my mags, all of them. I'll tell you that right now.
Grit and dust in my mouth.
There's dust in everything. My gun it's filthy. And the DMAG, I would think, is probably less susceptible to that being a problem than, say, a quad stack 40
totally.
or 60, because the quad stack has more surface area of contact with the cartridges in multiple places.
And in the quad stacks as well. Well, not so much in the double stack mags, but in the quad stacks, you've got your merging columns.
And you have 2 springs.
Yeah. And you, with the DMAG, you've got 1 spiral track of ammo. So you're never trying to combine 2 stacks into one.
Now, personally, I've had great success with like the Suomi submachine gun drums. I know drums are one of those things. These DMAGs are really good, and I'm going to say, I know we're going on this, but I would say if you want something that's high capacity, I would vouch for these.
Yeah.
The Surefires are okay. We've had good luck with them, but these just seem better.
Yep. We bought these with our own money.
Yep.
Shoot, like a year ago, wasn't
We
it?
bought them a year
while
ago, and we finally put them to the use today.
We've used them a little bit here and there.
And you can monopod on them too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not a
definitely.
problem. So I guess that's what we're going to pull out of that. Is it's not necessarily a stage element, but those DMAGs are good to go, and that's our conclusion for that stage.